we're back. Welcome to Queers and Qualms. This is Sijara, and I have my co-host here.
Yasmin, what's up, y'all? We're back.
We're back with another episode of Queers and Qualms. Thanks for joining us on this another beautiful Sunday if you're listening on release day. I don't know what day it is in our future land where you guys are listening.
Yeah. And thanks everyone who is listening regularly. And if this is the first episode that you tuned into, we're happy to have you.
Welcome. We love new listeners. We love returning listeners, and we're super excited. We're really moving along in this season. We've got some more good content for you guys, and I ask it all the time. I ask it in the beginning. Make sure you guys like, follow, and subscribe.
Make sure.
Yeah, I'm just gonna, because it makes me feel good. It makes me feel nice. And you know what it does for me, Yasmin? It increases my mental health and self-image.
Wow. What a great transition. Yeah, I think, makes me feel good, and feeling good is important to your mental health. So obviously today we're going to be talking about mental health. And that's a super big, broad topic. So we're going to kind of be focusing on how mental health affects your relationships, how mental health affects your athletics, us being athletes. We're going to talk a lot about mental health in sports. We're going to talk about ways to practice good mental health practices and mental strength. And so we're going to get a little bit into body image as well. So we've got a loaded episode. We definitely want to talk about the positive parts about mental health and some of the struggles that specifically athletes and Black women go through in stressful situations, and how to maintain a positive outlook and mindset, and how that positive mental health affects everything in your life.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're super excited to share with you guys. And, it just occurred to me off the top of my head, we're not experts, and this is not medical advice. Blah, blah, blah.
This is just our experience.
Yeah.
Based on, being athletes for however many combined years we've been athletes for a long time.
Being Black women our whole life.
Yeah,
that too.
so that has a lot to do.
Experience being Black and being female.
So this is our viewpoint, and we want to share with you guys. And if you guys have any questions about any of our practices or anything we talk about in this episode, we love for you guys to DM us, email us, let us know what you guys think about your own mental health practices. And yeah, let's just jump right into it. How does mental health affect your day-to-day life? Like, why is it important to keep positive mental health practices?
I mean, super, super important to keep positive mental health practices, especially because, mental health affects your everyday life in the sense that, I believe that everyone has sort of a core ego, a core self-image, and how you view your self-image will certainly affect your relationships, your career, your day-to-day experiences and interactions with other people. So I think when you have
your self-esteem.
Your self-esteem. When you have a more positive self-image and a more healthy self-image, I would imagine that your day-to-day life is not easier, because life is freaking hard.
But it's positively reflected.
But yeah, you can roll through the punches differently, I think, when you have, because life is going to give it to you no matter what. So I think having that positive self-image and good self-esteem sort of helps when life gives you, lemons.
And I think it's important, too, to note that these are practices. These are things that you have to actively work towards, having a positive self-image or having positive mental health practices doesn't always directly equate to being happy all the time, or it doesn't fix your problems a lot of times, but I think it can definitely help you look at situations objectively and definitely take care of yourself, because honestly, if you're not taking care of your vessel, you're not going to be successful in whatever endeavor it is that you do. And I think that at the most basic level, physically, if you're not physically taking care of your body, how are you going to expect your body to go through your day-to-day life and function at 100%? And that's the same for mental. If you're not taking care of your mental health, you can't expect your mentality to keep up with your busy day to day running around, like the problems, the good stuff, and everything in between.
Yeah.
So it's definitely a balance.
Yeah. And then like, it's maybe a little off topic, but like, immediately I thought of like, a lot of people think mental health and physical health are two different things, but I think the two actually parallel.
Yeah.
I think when you take care of yourself mentally, you're more encouraged to want to take care of yourself physically.
I think that's absolutely true.
Absolutely. When you take care of yourself physically, I think it has a positive reflection on how you view yourself mentally and emotionally.
Yeah.
And so a lot of people like view us as athletes, but I think one of the things that I think sort of helps off the rip is making sure that understanding that mental and physical health are sometimes very parallel.
No, definitely intertwine a lot. And I definitely know of people who use physical outlets, or their physical outlet directly reflects in a positive mental health like journey. Like a lot of people say, when they start working out, it definitely releases positive endorphins that can help you think clearer. They can help like brain fog. They can help you just get into a good mood. Like I know for me, if I don't work out or physically move my body around for a couple of days, I start it manifests itself in anxious movement, anxious thoughts. Like if I don't release all of that pent up energy that I have, it automatically is reflecting in my thoughts.
Yeah.
So yeah, they definitely intertwine.
Definitely. I don't want to sound like a jock too, but people tell me that all the time. Like, what do you do for mental health? Like one of the first things I do when I'm feeling down is exercise. And I know people are like womp womp, but it's true. Like just even going for a walk, like think about how much better outside. You feel. Thank you. Mm-hmm. You don't have to be working out to feel better, but just physically moving your body. Certainly
going on a bike ride. Yeah. All that stuff, physical movement, definitely for sure makes me feel better. And I think as someone who does a combat sport, like definitely some of that pent up anger and aggression, I am able to let out. And I think a lot of the times too, when you have pent up energy, you want to put it in certain places. And if you don't have that place to put it into, it can become negative. Yeah. Like you have a kid with a lot of energy. What do? You tell them to go run outside or go play. And so like physical and mental, I mean, your brain is part of your body.
Certainly. So it's the biggest muscle.
Yeah.
Or at least the most functioning muscle in your body. And interestingly enough, that's one of the motives that got me into martial arts was I was going to a therapist. I was in my early 20s. I was going to a therapist. I had a lot of anger issues. I had a lot of emotional turmoil. And one of the things she recommended to me was to pick up a physical hobby.
Nice.
And what I picked up was cardio kickboxing after work, which led to jiu-jitsu, which led to MMA, which led to here we are.
Your career.
Yeah, literally started a career path. But the suggestion started in the therapist's office where I obviously had these other practices and other different little homework assignments she was giving me for my mental health. But one of them was you need to do something to physically get some of this tension out of you. Is there anything? And she was like, to try anything. She was like, I play basketball or go for a walk or try something. Mm-hmm. And one of the things I tried was a kickboxing class. And the rest is history.
Yeah, literally the rest is history. Yeah. And when you take care of your own mental health, I definitely feel like it reflects in other parts of your life, like your relationships with people. Like if you are in a positive state of mind and you're in a relationship with someone, whether it's romantic or platonic, you're going to be able to give more to that relationship because you have more to give. Mm-hmm. And when you're struggling with mental health crisis or like just any sort of like struggling mentally, it's hard to give to the things in your life that need your attention. Mm-hmm. And that's not to say that you have to even. Like if you're struggling mentally and you don't have the energy to give to the relationships in your life, that's okay. Yeah. Everyone has been in a place where they like, I feel like that has been the case, but it's also just recognizing that and trying to find a way to communicate that. And then also working to, put yourself in a better place so that, you know, you can give to your relationships and your relationships will then give back to you in a positive way.
Exactly. Like, selflessness. Like, I don't want to be getting too much into some of the strategies for maintaining a good mental health, but something I've been learning over the last couple of years is I find that I'm more fulfilled mentally, emotionally when I'm helping other people.
Yep.
Where for years, I mean, in my 20s, I super selfish. I don't think I like, you know, I was like, I'm
That's
doing
the
me.
time to be selfish, though.
Yeah,
in your 20s.
Yeah, it is. But I found like even now, just using martial arts as an example, I love training martial arts. I love competing in martial arts. But I find a lot of fulfillment now from teaching martial arts and sharing what I know with other people. And I was almost surprised to see how fulfilled and happy I was coming out of a class I was teaching. You know, I have a lot of personal stresses going on in my life. And sometimes when I'm training for myself, I'm still thinking about my personal issues. But when I'm teaching a jiu-jitsu class, I'm no longer focused on anything but sharing my knowledge with the people who are here and giving my attention to the people who are here. And I looked around one day, I was like, am I being selfless? And do I feel good about it? Oh my God. Is that maturity?
It's called growth.
Oh my God. So that's another thing that I think is overlooked when it comes to mental health and self-help.
Yeah.
Is also opening up yourself to helping others and seeing what you can contribute to your immediate friends or family or society and things like that.
It's the difference between like looking inward to try to like solve the problem versus like, you know, getting out, you know, outward. You know what I'm trying to say? Like basically when you are, if you're trying to like fix a problem or something and you're looking inward in your mental health and you're trying to like get to a better mental place, you start with you. But sometimes, a lot of times, it's going through the motions, and then sometimes the feeling of that, like of going through the motions, helps you get into the mentality of that. So you know, there's two ways you can do it. You know. And so I think that's definitely really, really interesting point and super helpful.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't always take mental health seriously. It's like one of those things that's tossed around in athletics, but never really spoken about in a logistical way where it's like everyone says you should have good mental health practices, but nobody lays out what that means or like, and everyone, when people try to take mental health breaks and mental health days, they're, you know, ostracized and they're called weak or something like that. And I remember very specifically getting into this next topic is athletes, for specifically Black female athletes, expressing that they are struggling mentally within their sport or whatever it is that they're doing, and people not coming out to rally behind that and support. People say so much, oh, mental health is so important. And then when you try to say that you're struggling mentally, everyone turns their nose up at you.
I think it's a very layered response. I think, and no offense to our laymen, but I think a lot of laymen view professional athletes and Olympic level athletes as these pillars of mental toughness because said athletes compete at a higher level. I think people and these people have earned their,
accolades.
They've earned this sort of level up. People look up to these professional athletes. But I think what comes along with being a professional athlete and being even collegiate level and Olympic level athletes is people sort of automatically assume that you're tougher and more mentally strong than most other people.
Yeah, and that's not always the case.
Not always the case. And then you layer that with being a Black athlete and a Black female athlete. And what I think is most interesting about the Black female athlete is it's doubled because you're the athlete and you have that expectation. And then there's also this expectation in America that Black women are strong.
Are just superhuman.
We're just meant to be superhuman. It's it literally historically proven that even today, doctors still think that Black women aren't as prone to sickness or don't need medical intervention as much as other people do.
Could take high levels of pain.
Have higher pain tolerance. And Black women are sort of expected to take abuse, both mentally and physically, in ways that most other people are not expected to. So when you take a Black woman and an athlete, you put them together, people are almost cold-hearted in what they expect these women to be like. They expect you to be like stone cold badass impenetrable, and how dare you like have a mental health day, or how dare you have anxiety, or how dare you not be the pillar of mental health perfection.
A great example of that is Naomi Osaka, who is a tennis player. She plays on the tour. If she's not number one right now, she has been and probably will be again. She took off some of the major tournaments in the year 2020 and 2021 due to mental health. She's kind of a shy girl. Like, she just plays tennis. She likes to play tennis. And, you know, she's on this tour where she's expected to be this image of what a tennis player is supposed to be, when realistically she's like, I'm just good at tennis and I'm here to play tennis. But they want her to do interviews, they want her to show appearances, she's got to say this, she's got to say that, and if she doesn't say those things, then it's all this hubbub on in the media. And so in a couple of the tournaments, she was like, I don't really understand why I need to be doing interviews after every single interview I have to do on the court. I have to do on the court and off the court after the match. And she's like, dude, I'm just here to play tennis. And like, I don't really feel like speaking publicly is a strong suit for me. Like, I don't really feel like, you know, I don't have much to say in these interviews. And so she opted to not do, she said, I don't want to do the interview. And so when that happens, obviously in most sports, I think if you don't do your post like match interview, you get fined. And she was like, I'm perfectly fine with being fined. I make a lot of money. It's no problem. But for my mental, I want to stay mentally focused on this tennis tournament, which is what I'm here to do. I don't want to be distracted by other media of it. The league made a huge deal about it. They were like, you can't play. You can't do this. You can't do that. And like, she literally was like, you know what? Fine then. I won't play. As the number one woman in the world, I won't play in y'all little tournaments because you won't take me and my mental health and my mental practices seriously. And it was a huge hubbub. I don't even think she's played in a major since before 2020. I could be wrong, but she hasn't played in a while.
I like Googling while in the middle of us recording. So I'm trying to, not like Google is like the epitome of information or whatever. But actually, so we record in advance for those of you guys. But as of this recording, it's March 20th. Just 2 days ago, Naomi Osaka was booed out of the Indian Wells tournament. They literally heckled her to tears.
Yes,
just 2 days ago. I'm this is information I'm finding out right now.
Oh
guys.
yeah, I don't think I was watching that match like live, but I definitely heard about it as soon as it happened. And not to sit here and say that, you know, Naomi Osaka shouldn't be expressing emotion on the court, but a lot of that was rooted in the history of the tournament Indian Wells, which was the same tournament which the tournament, mind you, is it's in California. It's on the U.S. soil, where they booed Serena and Venus off the court, nearly booed them when they first made their debut at Indian Wells years ago. And it was you know, people who follow tennis know about it, and people who are Serena and Venus fans know about it, but that's not a common story, right? And so I remember reading an article about her saying, like, yeah, that brought out traumatic memories for me. I remember being a little black girl watching the first famous black female tennis player get booed in her own country off the court, and now
her own
years
state.
and years and years later, it's happening to me as a black female athlete. I definitely see how that could be stressful. I mean, someone who already is dealing with anxiety around being like a headliner in the media, for that to happen is just outrageous.
Yeah. And so of course I probably should do my research before we start, but I like to do it because it feels fresh to me. Yeah, it looks like 2001, Venus and Serena were booed off the court because Venus withdrew from their semifinal match with a knee injury. It's like, okay,
we can't even be physically hurt.
You know. And here's the thing. Now I'm upset. As a professional
now
athlete,
I'm mad.
Because as a professional athlete, I'm not nearly the level of fame or even, I want to say, athletic skill wise of, I'm nowhere near the Williams sisters or Naomi Osaka. I could fight. You know what I mean? I could fight. But I'm not nearly the type of professional athlete that the Williams sisters are and Naomi Osaka. And I've experienced similar things as a fighter. It just feels like as an athlete, fans want you to die for them. Like fans of these sports, these people who sit in the stands, never picked up a tennis racket.
Nope.
The same people who we were just probably encouraging to take a walk around the block.
Right.
You know?
Minimum.
The same people who couldn't get up and probably touch their toes if their life depended on it are booing. And it's another subset of like, even you can't even be physically injured with some of these fans. Like, like seriously, like what more do you want from these athletes?
Right. Like we play multiple times a year. We're playing for your entertainment. We're going through all the post-match interviews. We're trying to say what we think you want to hear. And a lot of that is very physically and mentally taxing. We're over here trying to focus on, mind you, and that's their job. Their job is to go out and win tennis tournaments. Their job isn't really to entertain you. That just so happens to be what you're interested in, right? And so when all this other extra shit is like expected of athletes to do, how could you not expect them to be out here on the mental breaking point when they're really over here trying to focus on like maintaining their record, winning whatever sport it is. And then you have to deal with a bunch of people who have no idea what they're talking about, judging you because you're on a big main stage.
Right. And I think the thing that happens when people are fans and you have these, what do they call it? Like crowd, you know, when people get in crowds, they, you know, whatever. I can't think of the term right now. But the thing about sports fans is I feel like these masses of people think that these athletes are there for their personal entertainment. And then they're like, well, you get paid to do it. It's your job. And I think you said it perfectly. No, I get paid by this. Like, I'll use myself. I get paid by the UFC and I get paid to make weight within a certain amount and then step into the octagon. That's it. I don't get paid extra. UFC doesn't give me extra for how entertaining I am. They don't pay me extra if the fans think, no, you get paid extra when you win.
Right.
So I get paid to win. And I think fans think like because you're a professional athlete or because you're an Olympian or because you're on full scholarship at a school, your job is to entertain us. No, my job is what I'm contractually obligated to fulfill. And there is nothing in my contractual obligations that says y'all have to like me or you have to enjoy me.
Exactly.
And I think that's where it starts to get really muddled in society where people think like, especially in, you know, you would think a sport like tennis, which is supposed to be sophisticated, you would think no. And in California, that's supposed to be so liberal and leftist, like booed to tears just 2 days ago. Like,
yeah, it's ridiculous.
We're not here for that.
Yeah, and this reminds me too of last summer's Olympics when Simone Biles, the best gymnast to ever live, the most accolades, the hardest skills, the best, like literally crowned the best woman, like the best gymnast to ever live, male or female. In their second Olympics, she's in her second Olympics, already went to the Olympics in 2016 and won like 4 gold and 1 bronze medal. Like, goes back to the Olympics for the fun of it at this point. She's won all the things. She's got all the accolades. She's the best on every event. Like, and everyone in the world knows it. She went to her second Olympics because she wanted to. Not for America.
Nope.
Not for the fans to entertain her, because she felt like
Not
she
for the
wasn't done
check.
with gymnastics, because you ain't getting paid for that. And what happened when she got to the Olympics, mind you, this is an Olympics after an entire year of a global pandemic, the Olympics that was been pushed back a year, all the preparation, all messed up. They're going into Japan that has super strict COVID laws, and she gets to the Olympics and she basically has a mental breakdown where I don't know if many of you know this. But obviously, as an ex-gymnast, I know gymnastics is a very, very mental sport. And if you're not mentally on point, it is very dangerous. And so she was having a mental block in her gymnastics where she was in the air and getting lost and not knowing where she was in the air. And that's extremely dangerous because you could come down on your head.
Absolutely.
You come down on your head, you come down, break your knees. Anything can happen. And a lot of it, like, obviously gymnasts train every day. They train a lot of the same skills to like not have that happen. But when you're somewhere and there's so much mental stress surrounding this one event, and then you're there and you're the favorite to win gold on every event,
the pressure.
The pressure. And I think what really happened is she said she withdrew from majority of the Olympic competition because she was dealing with real life mental stressors that were putting her in danger. And the craziest thing to me is people were livid. People were not like, oh, I hope she's okay. I hope she's getting the help that she needs. People were livid. I can't believe she's turning her back on her teammates in America. Like, okay. Right.
The worst thing I heard was like, she's un-American. I'm like, she's un-American.
She ain't at the, like, okay, she's competing for the American Olympic team, but she ain't at the Olympics for no America. She's at the Olympics for herself. She didn't even really need to be there. She'd already been to one.
Since when does my citizenship have anything to do with what I do in my spare time? Since when is that's what I'm talking about, being a black woman, that her born natural, correct me if I'm wrong, but in this country, when you're born in this country, you're a citizen, and once you're an American citizen, you have certain
you're not
inalienable
acting like you're an American.
rights. And let me take away your actual rights because you don't want to participate in your sport that you do, that you spent your life
Also, you don't get paid to go to the Olympics in gymnastics.
Actually,
you don't.
Side note, actually, America pays their they get like a per diem or a stipend or some kind of winning prize money. Like America pays their Olympic athletes the worst out of most other countries.
And we're just expected to be
the worst. As a matter of fact, there's a lot of Olympic athletes. If you go in there and search, I'm not searching right now, but there's definitely been a lot of Olympic athletes that say America doesn't send us to the Olympics. We send ourselves. Yeah. We don't. And there are other athletes other than Simone Biles who have openly said that, like, the United States is the only country that don't send their athletes to the Olympics. Most of these athletes have to get themselves there. And then America, what does America do? Ooh, look at our new gold medalist.
Ooh, they love want to be on the Today Show. Right. And so what bothered me so much about it was the reaction of, like, the fan base and the reaction of, like, people to say that, like, okay, sure, I was disappointed that I didn't get to see Simone Biles perform because that's what I wanted to see. Now, am I calling her weak and her turning her back on her teammates and being un-American for something that literally would physically put her in danger if she tried to do? People are like, she's not trying hard enough. She could do it if she wanted. Let me see you do a backflip. Let me see you do a backflip.
Not even backflip. Let me see you do a back roll. Like, let me see, like, literally. Let me see. Can I see a cartwheel? And a round off.
Right. And these things that you likely couldn't hurt yourself seriously, you're likely going to be scared to do them. And so, like, and people don't even take into account the, like, just level of stress and pressure it is to be an athlete at that caliber of athletics, especially when you're expected to win and be perfect. It's very taxing mentally to uphold that image and that expectation from everyone. And then when you don't perform the way that people are expecting you to, people are outraged. And that's literally disheartening to be an athlete, or to be someone who is an aspiring athlete, even to know that, you know, if I say that I am not feeling mentally stable enough to do what I need to do, that I'm gonna basically be tossed away like I don't matter.
Right, like you don't matter. And one of the other things that I found to be kind of interesting in the Simone Biles story which I think a lot of people overlooked, was in the middle of everyone unnecessarily dragging Simone Biles, she paved the way for her teammate to win gold.
Exactly.
And that girl, I think, was like the first Asian American or the first
Asian or Pacific Islander
to ever win a gold medal in that particular event. And so
she led her team to a silver team medal.
Right. So meanwhile, I'm thinking about, not only was I thinking about Simone Biles and what she must be going through, but I thought about, what about her teammate?
Who's her teammates.
Her teammates. These other women who are also out there busting they ass for the thing that they love to do. And there's no support at all.
Right. And now the whole story is about Simone Biles not competing and not the rest of the team coming through and pulling out a silver medal.
Yeah.
And you feel like your accomplishments are tainted based on the circumstances that happen to happen.
Yeah, and not only
around that time.
America's so hypocritical. They love to be like, "Oh, USA, USA." Okay, instead of bashing one American for not being American enough, why not approach the whole system, like the whole situation, with positivity? Simone Biles isn't going to compete. I wish her the best, but now there's another American who's going to win gold medal, and let's praise them both for being the two baddest MFers
and
in
being
gymnastics.
Strong enough to verbalize that she felt like this. There's been so many athletes who have put themselves in such like mental strain and physical danger from trying to push and never even like looking at their situation and be like, maybe I should take a break. There's so many athletes who are literally should and put themselves in dangerous positions to get injured, to hurt themselves or someone else, in team sports and stuff like that, because they feel obligated. And we shouldn't make people feel obligated to ignore their mental health and ignore part of their body that's calling to them, that's saying that you need a break.
Yes, absolutely. And I actually haven't talked about this before, but and this was part of my own desire to be tough, and I think it was multi-layered. But a lot of times too, these athletes put themselves in physical harm with thinking of other people. They're like, in one of the recent years, I took 4 fights in 9 months, which is a long time. And I remember coming up into my 4th fight in that time span, I was like, bro, I'm running out of steam. Like, just physically. Like,
that's hard.
Like,
most people fight, and to put it in perspective, most people fight once to twice a year in the UFC.
And I did 4 in 9 months. And one of those fights was in Abu Dhabi. So think about the travel on top of that.
The time to change.
Yeah. And in the last fight in the year, in that 9 months, pardon me, I came into the fight thinking like I'm out of steam. But I also had the mentality, I can't say no, because there's going to be repercussions.
Yeah.
They're gonna blacklist me and not let me fight for the next couple of 6 months. People are gonna call me a coward for pulling out. People aren't gonna believe me if I tell them I'm injured. And I went into one of those fights with a back injury. 2 weeks before the fight, I should have been working out and doing what I was supposed to do. I couldn't get out of bed. I had thrown my back out so bad, I literally couldn't get out of bed without being in extreme pain. And I'm 14 days from a fight. And I spent the next 14 days just trying to actually physically...
And imagine how that affected your mentality going into the fight.
The mentality... I certainly lost that fight. I lost. And it was... And it's just... And I think about it, and not to be like me, but I think if I had... There were repercussions to that. I ended up losing the fight, which means I ended up losing some money. I put myself in physical danger. I remember being in the fight, and my back was freaking killing me. And I just thought, if I felt that much stress in the situation I'm in, imagine being Venus Williams at Indian Wells and having to pull out over a knee injury. Should I pull out? Do I do it? Imagine being... And
prioritizing yourself.
Yeah.
And then
imagine
people
the kind of stress.
Flipping the fuck out over it. Yeah.
Flipping
it's ridiculous.
Especially because like, I'm in UFC. Like, you know, I still don't think it's not a household thing.
Yeah, it is.
So imagine being a household name or a household sport when there's so many more eyeballs on you. It's just this. We can go on and on about how much I hate the way people treat athletes.
Yeah, definitely. So now that we've kind of like given some examples of some negative ways of like doing mental, well, I wouldn't even say those are negative. Honestly, I am really happy for these athletes and even myself, like that they were able to, if anything, start a conversation. If any, like they weren't received as well as I think they should have been, but at least they were able to start a conversation about the importance of mental health, specifically in athletics, and their experience within, like, just their experience as an athlete and as a Black female athlete. But with all that being said, and knowing the stresses of being a high level athlete, but also just the stress of life and things going around in the world, we're in the middle of a huge, like, we're still, despite what people say, in the middle of a global pandemic. We're nearly in the middle of World War III, and there's so much going on in everyone's lives. People are trying to get people back into work. People got kids, everything, with everything going on in your life. How do you prioritize your mental health? What do you do? And this is not a rhetorical question. I'm actually asking, what do you do to prioritize your mental health, and like, are there any practices that you do on a day-to-day basis that help you keep a positive frame of mind?
Also, good one. I think like mental health is obviously an ongoing thing. You have to exercise your mental health just like you do your body. I've already said it before. I think my physical, when I practice good physical health, it sort of reflects. So some of the things I do specifically for mental health is I'm big on faith and spirituality. I'm big on prayer, y'all. I get down and pray. And I think people think of prayer as a traditional, like, get down on your knees and pray to like Jesus.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's it, that prayer has to be that specific. I think prayer is any time that, I think meditation is a form of prayer. I think anytime that you can sort of be in a quiet space and think about the things that make you happy and the sort of goals and desires that you have in life, and you're able to think them or say them in a repetitive manner, like, that's prayer.
Yeah. The millennials would call that manifest.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yes.
To manifest.
Manifesting. That's a good one. Why didn't I say that? 'Cause prayer, manifesting, meditation. I'm big on that. I'm big on, and it's easier said than done. Yeah. Like, there's been times where I'm like, I'm gonna pray every night and every morning, and that's not true. Sometimes I get up in the morning.
Why
but I'm putting stress on it, right?
Yeah. Now, if that's something, if your mental health practice is something that's stressing you out, maybe you should change your mental health practice.
Maybe I'll just pray when I feel like it.
Yeah, I mean, and that is a start.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? That is a start. And I think for me, one thing I like to do is I like to remove myself from, like, obviously whatever it is that's stressing me out. And that's easier said than done if it's like life is stressing me out, which a lot of times, you know. But the things in life, first of all, identify, if you can, identify what it is that's stressing you out. And try to then, if it's something that is removable from your life, then obviously that's easy. Remove it from your life. Now, if it's something like, oh, my job that I can't quit, it's stressing me out, something that I have to do on a daily basis, you might be in the circumstances when you're not able to quit. Yeah. So then you have to how do I combat that in my off time to make sure that I'm still prioritizing my mental health when I have to be at work for 40 hours a week, right? So something I like to do is completely remove myself from anything related to that stressor. Turn on, do not disturb. A lot of times I feel a lot of stress from being overstimulated.
Oh yeah.
And that has a lot to do with being exposed to so much information at once, social media, news, et cetera, et cetera. A lot of that stuff that I feel like I can't control sometimes stresses me out. So what I like to do is remove myself from that. Turn on do not disturb, turn off the news, like, and really spend time with myself. And whether that's reading a book, going on a walk, listening to some music, but just really taking the time to check in with my body physically and mentally, and trying to see if I can figure out what I need in that moment. And obviously, again, easier said than done. Sometimes you don't know what you need in that moment, but I think that's definitely helpful. And I try to do it at least like once a day, but that's unrealistic for me. I can't really have that time once a day, but ideally I would like to do that once a day. So I try to do it as often as I can. I'll read a book. A lot of times too, if I'm feeling specifically upset, because if I'm feeling specifically upset, if I am able to, I'll try to treat myself to something. Like I'll go and take myself to Starbucks and get a cake pop, and it's something as little as that just might turn around the trajectory of my day.
Yeah.
I might be like, that shit that happened to me really was upsetting, but I don't want to let it spiral. So let me do something for myself to try to get my day back on track. And so those are some of the practices that I do when I'm in the middle of a stressful situation. But as for like a day-to-day routine, I don't have one. But I know that people do. They, say their morning affirmations. I see that's a positive, like something that people do a lot on social media.
Yeah, morning affirmations is a big thing. Sticking Post-its everywhere is a big thing. I'm a big Post-it girl, though. Big Post-it girl.
Just that being able to visualize.
We can
do
that.
A visual person.
Yeah.
Writing
Beat
down.
some ass today. Yeah, stuff like that. I'm big on that. And sometimes, like you said, the routine in and of itself can become stressful. And I think by not stressing the routine is good too. Like it's just impossible to wake up every day with a freaking smile on your face. It's like, because if it was that easy, then we wouldn't be
having this conversation.
Yeah, you know. And I think like another good buzzword, but it's true, is one that I like to use is like reframing. I know we have on here sometimes when people think about image, either your mental image of self or your body image of self. I'm prone to say negative things about myself too, like I suck at fill in the blank.
I was so dumb for that, or like
so
negative language.
Like I'm trying to learn Spanish and I'm always like I've just never been good at Spanish, or I'll never learn Spanish. And sometimes I'll check myself, I'll hear it, and I think that's one of the first things that I try to hear. I try to hear those things and
redirect.
What I'll try to do is redirect them. And if I say it once, if I say, I hate Spanish, I'll try to redirect it immediately and then say it at least more than once. Like, no, I haven't practiced Spanish as much as I should have. Or it's not that I'm not good at Spanish. I'm learning something new and it's taking some time. Just learning to positive vocabulary. Re-say it. Yeah.
Positive self-talk.
Yeah. Another one that I did recently that I want to, before I forget, I was talking to my girlfriend recently and I was like, I hate the way I look in these jeans. And she was like, I hate the way I look in this shirt. And I'm like, you look great. And she was like, you look great. And I was like, imagine if we talked to ourselves like we talk to each other. Right. And we both were like, light bulb. Like, talk to yourself like you wouldn't go up to your girlfriend and be like, you look so fat in those jeans. So why would you say it to yourself? I mean, if you do, there's another episode for you. But I mean, if you wouldn't say that to your girlfriend, why would you say it to yourself? Right. You know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's very valid. Just creating the habit also of positive self-talk, because a lot of times it is easy to be like, to think that it's not a big deal and offhandedly be like, oh well, I'm dumb, or like, I find myself saying that sometimes too. I'd be like, oh, I'm burnt, or like, that's kind of like a joke, but like realistically, I'll do something dumb and be like, damn, I'm like slow, but it's as simple as being, instead of saying that, I'd be like, I made a mistake. And I'm going to think about it in a positive frame of mind. I'm going to think about this mistake that I made and possibly take the learning lesson out of it. It's changing your frame of mind from the negative, I did something wrong, I suck, into I made a mistake. Now, what did I learn from it, and how do I move forward with that knowledge and not doing it again? And so that's definitely very important. Language, how you speak to yourself, speak to yourself reflects into, how you view yourself. Yeah, definitely.
I'm big on a faith and spirituality too. I really am. I'm big on spirituality, and not necessarily. I think when people think God and spirituality, I think a lot of people look at like organized religion. I don't think it has to be organized religion, but I think people who can find a way to connect to a higher being, either via an organized religion or just through your own spiritual connection, I feel like that helps a lot when I hit moments of frustration or self-doubt, or times when life is just freaking hard and it's just, life is just throwing you all the curveballs. Like I like to lean in on that sort of other being And I think people get like,
Yeah.
oh, well, I don't want to be part of religion. For a long time, I was like, it's not necessarily religion that leads to good health practices, but having a faith in spiritual connection
with
to
yourself,
something or to yourself,
ancestors, whatever it is.
The ancestors, the universe,
Mm-hmm.
the trees.
I have never been to therapy, but I know that it's very largely recommended. And honestly, I want to go to therapy. I just haven't really had the time to sit down and like really like find a therapist and someone who I would connect with. But I always, having never been to therapy, I always recommend it because I feel like what harm could it do, honestly? Like having someone to look at and speak about things objectively from an outside perspective can definitely give you some sort of different frame of reference. Just like can notice things that you might not notice about yourself and help you create that quote unquote routine, because like it doesn't always have to be a routine, but help you create those practices that keep you in a positive frame of mind.
Yeah. And I said, ooh, I love therapy. Like I don't even have a therapist right now. But I have been to therapy before, and I do enjoy, and I have enjoyed going to a therapist that I trust. Actually, me and my partner had just started couples therapy recently. And not to, so here's the thing, everyone's like, ooh, which could be a little off topic, but like, I think most people think you go to couples therapy when things are bad.
No.
We decided to go to couple therapy because things were great. Honestly.
It's almost like, too good.
I was like, something's going on. Let's keep digging. There's
it's bound to find something.
This honeymoon is still, but we were also to a point in our relationship where things started to get serious, and we wanted to move to the next level of our relationship. And we're like, well, our foundation's good. Let's keep it that way.
Right.
Like, let's see. And our therapist, we only went to one session so far, so I could be a little ahead of the game. But like our therapist asked us questions that made us think. What are your views on children? What are your views on marriage? Like,
it make you talk too.
Yeah, we talked about things that we just hadn't thought about organically. And I think going to therapy, on your own, I think, especially if you can find a good therapist whom you trust. If you go to a therapy session, because I've also been to therapy and I've been like,
this chick don't know what she's talking about.
She does not know what the hell she's talking about. And I have left and never returned. No call, no show. Don't call me back. You can't help me.
No, ma'am.
But when you get a good one, I think therapy is good, which, we have here too. Like, what is it about, Black people's aversion to therapy?
I mean, yeah, it's rooted in, like we talked about earlier, it's rooted in Black people kind of supposed to be strong, supposed to deal with trauma better. That like Black people are inherently mentally and physically stronger, and I think that has a lot to do with it. And also Black people's mistrust on Western practices and styles, and which makes sense. Like medicinal Western medicine a lot of times historically has been tested on Black people and has had negative effects, and I think Black people in general have a reason to be skeptical when it comes to Western medicine. But it's 2022, and I think we are at the point where we can say therapy will not hurt us.
Yeah.
And
listen, y'all, if you trust the vaccine, you can trust your therapist.
Did nobody say we trusted that, Joan?
So I said, if you trust the vaccine, don't be like, I'll take the vaccine, but I won't talk about my feelings. Like, you trust your physical stuff. I mean, I that's also kind of a little dig. If
and Black men too specifically have an aversion to therapy because Black men are not taught to verbalize or express their feelings. They're taught like provide, swallow your feelings, be a man. Having feelings is not manly or no, like, but that's obviously, I think we're moving away from that as a generation and moving more into just knowing that expressing yourself and learning communication skills is very important to your own success, the success of your relationships, your own mental health. And so like go to that couples therapy, go to the individual therapy. Like do both if you can. If you can afford it and you got good insurance, man, like
go for it.
Do it, because it's definitely introspective. And from what I heard.
Yeah, and I think it's a lot of that ain't nothing wrong with you kind of mentality.
Black people.
I thought that was me I was like, ain't nothing wrong with me. I can figure it out. I also thought I was smarter, but I think that whole mentality, especially for black men, is like, ain't nothing wrong with me. Ain't nothing wrong with you. You didn't have it as bad as I had it, so you should be fine.
But why compare trauma when we could just heal?
Yeah. I also think too, like one, as a generation, as we move more towards self-awareness and self-help, I kind of sometimes tease like anxiety's kind of a buzzword, is kind of a fad, but just the fact that we're talking about it already means that as a generation, as a society, we're moving more towards mental health awareness. Yep. But I think as far as especially
awareness
black people,
is the first step.
Awareness, first step is admitting you have a problem. But I think as we grow as a society more towards mental health and awareness, we'll have more doctors of color. Oh yeah. A lot of the reasons I didn't trust a lot of my therapists, because I'm like, you ain't black, you ain't a female, and you ain't gay. You don't know what I'm talking about. And I've never, met a black, gay, female therapist. It's hard to check all three of those boxes. I think they're out there. I'm sure there are, but exactly, that's like, is she in my health network? I don't even have health insurance. How much is she per hour? Damn. Mm. So I just think the availability of, and I think that's one of the hurdles that I think we have as black people, is I think we're sometimes more receptive when we see other people like us. I think when you go in,
that's completely understandable. Also, there's no white woman who could understand my experience. She can't. That's just the reality of it. No. And so it definitely is helpful to have, someone who looks like you, who has experienced some of the things that you're expressing about, be a therapist for you. And there are resources for that. I'm not going to drop them all here, but definitely I would say do your own research too. Do your own research, because you are going to know best what you need and what is in your area and what is available to you. So if you're interested in it, I think you should definitely, it is an option.
Yeah, they have all the apps and stuff now too. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I tried BetterHealth though. Yeah. I couldn't find any gay black ladies on there either.
Yeah. Well, I have a qualm. I have a qualm. Mm-hmm. And this might be like a subsection of mental health, and we've talked a little bit about it in this episode, but like body image. Body image as a subsector of mental health, because of the expectations. We've talked about expectations throughout this whole episode. What are the standard quote unquote body images that are projected in the media? How are we not supposed to be stressed? And like, how does this not negatively affect, one, our image, and two, our mental health? Like, I think it does affect us greatly. So
certainly. Yeah. I think media plays a super large role in body image and mental health. I just think about girls are conditioned from almost
the time they're born.
The womb, yeah. To be aware of their bodies, whether negatively or positively. Right. Girls and
how other people view, not only how you view your body, but how other people view your body.
Yeah, I think that body image question is a whole societal shift that has to happen. It has to start with men and women. It has to start with parenting at home. And it has to start with, because at one point it's like, what comes first? They say the artist is the reflection of reality, or is reality a reflection of artist, or whatever. Like, at what point is, I think when the masses move towards a common goal, I think the media shifts in a way to reflect that. Because, look at the cover of magazines in the 80s where they were all skinny white women, and now the image is
now everybody wants a BBL.
BBLs, right.
Yeah, but it's still the image. It's still
an image. Yeah, and they're both negative. Yeah,
and then when you don't fit within that image, and people ostracize you, they're saying, "Oh, you're not a sexy body, or you're not beautiful." And these beauty standards that like we live in societally definitely affect our mental health, our body image, how we view the way we're supposed to look versus the way we do.
Yeah, it's hard. I don't even know if I have even an inkling on where to chip away at that. I know, like, when it comes to I have a daughter, she'll be 5 soon, and when I do get the chance to, I try to encourage her as often as possible, because I know she's gonna be judged and viewed at some point.
Right.
Like, I just can't hide her from the world.
Any person with a body, specifically women.
So I'm always like, you're beautiful, you're gorgeous, you're smart, you can do anything, you love yourself, look in the mirror, who's that, you're the bomb. Like, I almost
positive
rather, like,
words.
Yeah, like, and I was talking to someone, I won't name who it is, but like, they were like, aren't you worried about like gassing her head up? I was like, no, because
her head should be gassed.
Because she's gonna grow up to be an Afro-Latina woman of color in this country, and there's gonna be millions of people ready to tell her what she's not and what she can't. And so I'm gonna every chance I get, I'm proud of you. You're like boom, 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 boom. And then not only me just saying it to her, but I try to encourage her to say it to herself. Like, ooh, I look pretty today. I'm
yes,
like,
you
yes,
do, girl.
You do. Get it, girl. Yeah, turn around. Yes, you know, because she could grow up to be Naomi Osaka, and they're gonna boo you because you don't want to do an interview, you know. And I want her to be able to at least be like, well,
all right, have a strong frame of mind where hopefully that stuff doesn't like affect her as much, you know, because everything is always gonna affect you. And just to talk a little bit about the positive self-talk and body image together. One of the practices that I like to use specifically when it comes to body image is that positive self-talk, is that frame of mind. Because what some of you may know is that as an athlete, and specifically a combat sport athlete, you're expected to make a certain weight to be able to compete. And that obviously can be stressful and taxing mentally when it comes to body image. And so, like, I try to always, so it manifests in having to keep a strict diet. And I always say out loud to myself and to everyone, and I truly believe that this is true, like, my diet is not a reflection of like how I want my body to look. I'm eating healthy for the benefits of my physical being and not the image that I see in the mirror. And so I try to avoid using words like when talking about like food or anything like that, like good food, bad food. Like, this was a good day of eating versus a bad day of eating, because that puts it way in the black and white when it's not. Like, especially when you know anything about nutrition and body weight, you know it fluctuates very often. You know a lot of the stuff that can stress you out when getting closer and closer to the fight day where you have to hit the scale. So I always try to frame it in a more positive outlook. Like, I always try to keep that and not even really talk about the way my body looks, rather than the way my body feels. If I like am looking at myself, I'm always like, oh yeah, like I'm always looking at myself in the mirror. You look strong. And to me, when I tell myself I look big, it's a good thing. Like, I'm like, you look strong, you look big, you look, healthy. And so I try to use those words to describe my body image versus, oh, you look skinny, or you look, oh, you lost weight, you look good. Like, I hate that. I hate that, especially because like I did lose a lot of weight recently, but it wasn't for the image. I didn't do it. I did it because I started doing a sport, and honestly, I didn't even try. The weight really just came off. So, and I had so many people comment on my body, and I didn't take it as a compliment, because I'm like what we need to stop doing as a society is commenting on people's bodies. Because why, like, whether you gain weight, lose weight, whatever, it could be a reflection of something. There could be something bigger that you don't even know about, that you just opened a can of worms that you're not ready that this
Absolutely.
person isn't ready to deal
Absolutely.
with and talk about. And so
Absolutely.
just stop commenting on the way people look in general.
Yeah. And I know we don't have a lot of like MMA coaches listening to this podcast. You guys are not in our target demographic anyway. Maybe there are. But as a martial artist and as a competitive martial artist, it's funny that you said that, because I feel like the body image issues we have as athletes that are weight based. This is a weight based sport, and even in other sports, like image is definitely like I'm thinking gymnastics and
yeah.
figure skating and things like that. So body image and just athletics and women's athletics is kind of just a thing anyway. But like the thing that happens in martial arts, which might not happen to women everywhere, but the thing about being a professional athlete, men and athletes and teammates feel like they can come up to you and ask you how much you weigh at any time.
They do that all the time.
How much do you weigh? And I've had to look at some of my coaches, my straight male coaches, and they'll walk right up to me and be like, "Oh, you're looking like you're a couple of pounds up today." And I'm like, "You look like you're a couple of pounds up. You like you're 2 cheeseburgers away from having a heart attack." So, and I've had some of them be like, "Oh, well, SARS. Well, I mean, it's part of the job." I said, "Me making weight is part of the job, but you
commenting on my body and how you think that I look or is not part of your job description."
Yeah. And I think it's a little unique to the field.
Yeah.
Where it's like me, I've had to be with other I've been with other female athletes. Like, what gives these? We've had talks, other girls that I train with, and been like, only in MMA is the only place where a man feels like he can walk up to a woman and ask her how much she weighs. If you were in the street, I would smack you.
I would smack you dead in the face. Dead in the face. Yeah.
And I said, let me go up and ask your mother how much she weigh. Like, you know, so I think that your outlook on how you view nutrition and food as an athlete, being a couple of years behind me, I think is really mature, because it's actually the opposite. Like I've been a bigger woman my whole life, no matter how you want to describe it. I was 200 pounds when I was 20 years old. I lost a ton of weight in a healthy physical way. And it was similar. I didn't lose weight because I got tired of how I looked. I started competing in martial arts, and the way to get more matches was to get in a lower weight class. And so the weight started coming off. It was easy. I lost weight because I wanted better competition. And so like my view on my body was skewed for so long, because I went from being overweight and called fat and looking at myself as fat or obese. I would go to the doctor, and the doctor would tell me, based on this white American chart, that you're obese. And I'm looking at myself like, I don't feel obese, but okay. And then moving into a professional sport where everything I do is revolved around this scale, I would sometimes look at myself. For those of you who aren't familiar, there's a flyweight division at 125. There's a bantamweight 135. I would look at myself on the scale at 125 pounds. Mind you, I don't walk at 100. I'm 125 pounds for 2 hours. I'm not ever like that weight. But whenever I go back and I look at those pictures, I'm like, I look so good. Like, look at those abs.
Yeah, and I look at those pictures and I'm like, you look like a skeleton.
Literally, every person I know, Yasmin, my mom, my girlfriend, every person that I know looks and goes, no, you look like you escaped an internment camp. Like, you look, you can see your cheeks.
Literally,
I have no butt cheeks. You can see your ribs.
The skin.
I'm like, look at my abs, and everyone's like, you look sick.
Yeah.
And then mind you, at 125, I could barely stand.
Yeah, it's not a healthy way for you to be at.
But the skewed image of, and then when I look at myself, like right now, I'm between camps. I'm sitting and I'm having a hard time. Even right now, as I sit and record this, I have to stop myself from looking in the mirror more and going, I'm heavy, I'm fat. And I have to look at myself and be like, no, actually,
you're normal.
I'm very normal right now. And not only not normal, but I'm actually in good shape. I've got guns.
Yeah.
You know, I got, I can run more miles than most other people I know. So it's very interesting to hear from you even today what a different mentality you have in a different generation in the same sport. And I'm kind of inspired.
In loving your body, just like anything else, just like setting those mental health practices and working on your physical and mental health is an ongoing effort. It's never going to be one day I just got it. It's never going to be one day I just learned to love myself and I did it every day after that.
Nope.
It's not going to be like that. It's a constant journey. It's a constant effort. It's something that you should be working towards on a day-to-day basis. And so like, moral of the story throughout this whole episode, it's just like tailor these things around what you think that you need to be healthy. Stop listening to what other people think that you need to do, how other people think you need to look, and how other people's mental health practices do. Tap into yourself and get to know yourself and what you need, because that is going to be how you find success physically and mentally.
Learn to love your body every day.
Self-love.
It takes work.
Self-love is the first step. Yeah.
Amen to that.
And I think that's that on that, yo.
We'll get that. These episodes have been good. We're getting a lot of feedback. We're really rolling. We don't want to. Oh yeah, look, that's our time. But we love feedback and suggestions. Let us know how we're doing, guys. We'll put our qualm of the week. We'll put some questions. Scroll down to the bottom. Like, what do you think of body image, and what do you think of some of the topics that we discussed here today? And let us know. Did we hit? Did we miss? Do you want to hear more of that? Let us know.
And as always, like, comment, subscribe, and follow us on Queers and Qualms on Instagram. And you can go to our website to subscribe at www.queersandqualms.com. And thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll see you in 2 weeks.
Have a good one, guys.
Peace.
What you wanna be? Tell me what you really wanna be, baby. Talk to me. Wanna be? Tell me what you really wanna be, baby. Talk to our and people downstairs at him. You looking kinda fuck him over him, madam. Our and people downstairs at him. You looking kinda fuck him over him, madam.
Hey guys, thanks for listening to the Queers and Qualms podcast. This is one of your hosts, Sijara Eubanks, and there's a favor that I have to ask you guys. Yasmin and I are preparing for Waco Worlds. If you're listeners to the show, you know we're both athletes. I'm a professional mixed martial arts fighter, and Yasmin is a budding, aspiring kickboxing fighter, and she's got a big tournament in Ireland in October of 2022. It's called the Waco World Championships, and we're raising money to help Yasmin get to the Waco Worlds. So if you've enjoyed this podcast today, we'd love some support and donation to help Yasmin get to this World Championships in Ireland in October of 2022. Please donate what you can, $1, $2, and subscribe to our podcast as a monthly donation. Plus, you can write it off in your taxes. It's not a subscription, it's not mandatory, but we do appreciate it, and any donation will help. Thanks, guys, and we'll see you at the Waco Worlds.
Just want to see you dip, passing, no asking. I'm coming at you, I wanted to see you, no latching, attaching. I just want to see you. And it's all I'm trying to say. We good side, babe. Stay calm, stop race. Gotta fall it up the way. And it's all I'm trying to say. We good side, babe. Stay calm, stop race. Gotta fall it up the way.
What you wanna be? Tell me what you really wanna be, baby. Talk to me. Wanna be? Tell me what you really wanna be, baby. Talk to our and people downstairs at him. You looking kinda fuck him over here, madam. Let's get a time. Get some weed and some bottle, tryna vibe with you. Spend a night with you. Them other niggas not gonna do it how I do. I completely trust myself. I don't slut shame, free country. Them niggas smelling musty and they done stay. I'm in my bed tonight. You can get it if you act it right.
I think you got a couple of those, yeah. Feeling kinda uncomfortable, but I make it work, I ain't built up smoke. I ain't tryna be with you, bro. Man, I'm just tryna walk out of the room with my bro. Man, get it on.
That's all I'm tryna say. We good side, babe. Stay calm, stop race. Gotta fall it up the way. And that's all I'm tryna say. We good side, babe. Stay calm, stop race. Gotta fall it up the way.